but do you allow it to stop you? No, but what if something bad happens? Yeah, something bad's going to happen in life no matter what. But it's the will to push and do it anyway. Because you don't allow those things to control you like a puppet. Because if you're allowing fear and jealousy and desire and these things to control you, you're allowing it to control you like a puppet. You have to cast away all of the distractions. And I think what you're going to find is that the things in your life that are bad for you are typically the distractions. Think about the things that you want to do in your life, and I ask you to really think about what you want to do in your life. Not even necessarily long term, even just short term. What do you want to do by the end of today, by the end of this week, by the end of the semester, by the end of the year? And most of us have something good in our mind. We're not sitting there thinking like, I don't know, I want to hijack an atomic bomb and detonate it in Tokyo. They haven't had enough over there yet, you know? Most of us don't have something negative in mind like that. Most of us have something positive. So that if what we're pursuing is good, why is it that we oftentimes don't reach that, or we do bad things along the way? Because it's the distractions that are typically bad. Remember, there's a difference between a temptation and a test. A temptation preys on your weaknesses. It appeals to your weaknesses. It knows that you're weak in some area, like fear or jealousy or desire. And then it appeals to you, and then once you get into it, it distracts you from the thing that you were aiming at. A test is different. A test makes you better and stronger. It's something to overcome on your way to your destination, the thing that you're pursuing. But we get distracted by what's present right now, rather than looking at what's at the future. And I mean, as I was talking to a class this morning, not my own students, and we're talking about Marcus Aurelius. We've had some quotes from him before, and I was talking about his this idea that he has of distractions, put simply. In other words, there are things in our lives that are important, and we know they're important, and yet we allow ourselves to be distracted. We encourage ourselves to be distracted from the important things. We convince ourselves, I don't think I'm ever going to need that. Why do we convince ourselves of that stuff? So that we can allow ourselves to be distracted. So in our minds, it's okay to be distracted. I don't have to pay attention to what's going on here. I'm not going to need this. I'm going to be I'm going to be a lawyer. I don't need to know this stuff. Or I'm going to work construction with my dad. I don't need to know this stuff. Are you ever going to need to know this stuff? Truth is, I don't know, but equally true, you don't know either. And so we justify it and say, well, I don't need to know this stuff, so I'm going to get on my phone because I don't need to know this stuff. It will never occur to you that you could have used it when those times come. And again, we encourage ourselves with those distractions. And those aren't the only distractions. There are emotional distractions as well. Fear is a distraction. Fear distracts you from pursuing the things in life that you want to pursue, taking the chances that you want to take. Desire is a distraction. The things that we desire that distract us from the things that we need, the things that we should get in life, things we should pursue. We know what those things are. I don't have to tell you anything like that. You already know what those things are. Jealousy, that's a distraction as well. We almost make a career of surrounding ourselves with distractions. And then we look up one day from our screens and we wonder, how come I haven't gotten anywhere? I know why. Because the world's unfair. That's why. No, it's because you allowed yourself to be distracted in the world, and you're living in a world that's just, it literally makes a business out of distracting you. Most businesses' objectives are to distract you. Whether or not you allow yourself to be distracted, that's a matter of the thing I was talking about with the students last period. It's a matter of will. Your will is your internal locus that you have that can keep you either focused on things or it can allow you to be distracted by things. It's essentially the part of you that determines what you're going to do. When we say things like, no, I want, I don't know, like when you're out, if you start jogging, let's say, you go out and start to run a mile, you get a quarter mile in, and you're really tired already. It's your will that either pushes you to continue or your will that allows you to stop. It's that internal motivation. I know I want to try this. I want to try this thing, or I want to take this chance, but I don't know, man, fear, like you're afraid of what could go wrong. That's your will, that's your will that's succumbing to fear. Yeah.
How can you grow the will to do?
You have to, it's all inside. There's no, it's a hard thing to describe because we all have it. But to say, you just have to do it. Well, what if I'm afraid? You just have to do it. But how do you do it? You do it. You force yourself to do it. What's the worst that can happen? You could die. That's going to happen anyway. Done and done. So now, given the fact that the worst thing that can possibly happen to you is going to happen anyway, now what are you worried about? Oh man, but if I take this chance, I don't know, what if I ask my crush out and I get rejected and I get embarrassed? Ooh, you're embarrassed. You're gonna die. Death is worse than embarrassment, even if you don't think so right now. And by the way, if you're still unsure about that, just remember, most people shit themselves when they die. So you're gonna die and you're gonna be embarrassed when you die. So you're gonna double up on that. So you can't avoid the embarrassment, but do you allow it to stop you? No, but what if something bad happens? Yeah, something bad's gonna happen in life no matter what. But it's the will to push and do it anyway, because you don't allow those things to control you like a puppet. Because if you're allowing fear and jealousy and desire and these things to control you, you're allowing it to control you like a puppet. You have to cast away all of the distractions. And I think what you're going to find is that the things in your life that are bad for you are typically the distractions. Think about the things that you want to do in your life. And I ask you to really think about what you want to do in your life. Not even necessarily long term, even just short term. What do you want to do by the end of today, by the end of this week, by the end of the semester, by the end of the year? And most of us have something good in our minds. We're not sitting there thinking like, I don't know, I want to hijack an atomic bomb and detonate it in Tokyo. They haven't had enough over there yet, you know? Most of us don't have something negative in mind like that. Most of us have something positive. So then if what we're pursuing is good, why is it that we oftentimes don't reach that, or we do bad things along the way? Because it's the distractions that are typically bad. Remember, there's a difference between a temptation and a test. A temptation preys on your weaknesses. It appeals to your weaknesses. It knows that you're weak in some area, like fear or jealousy or desire, and then it appeals to you, and then once you get into it, it distracts you from the thing that you were aiming at. A test is different. A test makes you better and stronger. It's something to overcome on your way to your destination, the thing that you're pursuing. But this all kind of goes back to what we were saying earlier, that you have to know what these things are. You have to know what good and bad is. You have to know what it is you're aiming for. And once you know what you're aiming for, now you know that anything that's not about that is about a distraction. What if you're walking down the street and let's say you're walking to school and you have to be here on time for some reason. You're meeting a friend, and as you're walking, someone across the street yells at you and calls you a name. What do? Do you allow that to distract you? Do you stop, cross the street, get into a fight, and then you're late and you don't see your friend? And then you tell your friend, listen, I know I promised I would be there, but someone called me a name, and so I had to. I had no choice. I couldn't control myself. You could. What are you going to do? You're going to stop and kick every dog that barks at you? Kick a barking dog, it's going to bark and it's going to yelp. And if it yelps, other dogs are going to start barking. You're just going to multiply, make more of it. The distractions in your life, the more you pursue them, the more you engage in them, the more they're going to distract you. And then you're going to find yourself way off of the path of where you were actually originally headed for. And then you're going to wake up that one day and be like, where am I? How did I get here? Man, the world is so unfair. Yeah.
You said that temptations and tests are the same, but are all temptations a test, or like when can a temptation just purely be a temptation and it doesn't make you better when you avoid it?
Oh no, I'm saying there's a distinction between temptations and tests. All temptations are not tests. Temptations are designed to distract you. So for example, if I don't know, like most of the temptations, I mean, I can't think of a temptation I think that's good necessarily. Like if I don't know, like I'm trying to think of myself. If I have to cut weight for a fight, I mean, sometimes I'll have to drop like 10 pounds in a week. And if you come in here and you're like, hey, Scallon, I know you're losing weight. Yeah, brought you a bag of Reese's peanut butter cups. Is that going to make me better in some way? No, it's going to tempt me. Why? Because it's something I really want to do. And all it does is it preys on a weakness that I already have, which is Reese's peanut butter cups. That's a silly one, but I'm sure there are temptations in your life that you can think of. You know, you have a boyfriend, you have a girlfriend, husband and wife. Then you've got somebody who's throwing themselves at you, and they, I know about your husband, I know about your boyfriend, but I won't say anything. That's not a test. That's a temptation. That's designed to prey on a weakness that you have. A test is something that can pop up in front of you that you have to overcome, and by overcoming it makes you stronger. Now you might say, but if you overcome a temptation, doesn't that make you stronger? It can, but it's not designed for that. It's designed to distract you. Tests aren't designed to distract you. Temptations are designed to distract you. But tests are designed to make you better. So it's in the design, it's in the purpose. So it's equally important to investigate wellness as it's to stay misery. We've said it a lot this year. Well, sorry, I have anyway. That life is suffering. And that's true. Life is suffering. But life is so much more than just suffering also. Life is beautiful. Life is exciting. Life is interesting. Life is so much more than suffering. Yes, you can't avoid the suffering. You can avoid the good times. That's true. You can avoid joy. And you can avoid happiness. Absolutely. I know people who do this. But you can't avoid the suffering. So that's what I mean when I say life is suffering. But it can also be so much more than that. It's about what you're focusing on. If you're focusing on just the misery, then what are you going to find? Not misery. But you have to focus on wellness as well. If you're someone who has anxiety, let's say, you can focus on the anxiety and you can let it define you, which, by the way, is what a lot of people these days do. We make like this industry of being proud of the fact that we have weaknesses. Like, if you don't have something wrong with you, you feel like there's something wrong with you. You feel left out. It's like everybody is like depressed and anxious and has all this stuff going on because, let's face it, we watch too much TikTok and then we start to think that must be us. Or you read too much WebMD and you think that must be you. You have cancer because your toe hurts. And then we start to think that if we don't have something wrong, then there must be something wrong because everybody seems to have something wrong. And we take pride in the fact that there's something wrong with us. We used to take pride in the fact that we overcame the things that were challenging us. Not that we suffered from something. We took pride in the fact that we overcame things. And this isn't just saying like, back in my day, there are people still today who do this. And you'll see who they are. If you don't know them, I hope you know them right now. Because that would mean that they're in your social circle and they're a role model. But if you don't know who they are, I hope that someday you find some of those people and you start to be more like them. Because the tragedies are going to come, the suffering is going to come, 100%. You can't do anything about that. But can you enjoy the good times? And can you find the best in the bad times? It's important to study how to be well. Because otherwise, how can you possibly ever be? It's like study literature. Why? Because when are you ever going to need it? I don't know, but you won't know you need it until you have it. When are you ever going to, I could give you a list of times you can use it. Should you ever, what about studying chemistry or algebra? Yeah. Why? Because you don't know when you're going to need it. Study wellness. Why? Because you never know when you're going to find it. It would never occur to you that you found it unless you knew what you're looking for. So, questions, comments, concerns, complaints, criticisms, critiques? Yeah.